Okay, here we go. If you don't succeed, try again. I am so sorry for those who were tuning in live earlier. Had a little bit of a faux pas with the computer. Actually, there was some big update going on in the background of my computer. And I have vMix. For anybody that does these shows, vMix has a setting where it disables all your computer updates. But for some reason, there was a computer update going on, and next thing you know, people say the audio is choppy, and then there's no audio at all. So originally, we were going to just end the show and then do a redo tomorrow, but I could picture social media. I could picture the haters saying, aha, your show got all screwed up, so it's still early. Why not? Let's do it over. So right now it is 11:57 p.m. on Monday night, February 24th, 2020. Welcome to this edition of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle Show. I am Don Tony. As always, I want to thank you for tuning in. Join along with me is...
I'm still Kevin Castle.
What's going on?
What's going on, man?
I tell you, you know what's funny? I was sweating like a pig earlier. I felt so sick. And I don't know, maybe because I was under pressure now with the computer getting all screwy, that I actually feel better, more better now than I did 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, you sound better now, actually.
Yeah, I mean, now, and for those, that maybe missed the take one earlier, I'm wearing an EC3 shirt because I was thinking about it over the weekend. Yes, they did the draft with Fox and USA Network, but I'm thinking about since Paul Heyman started writing for Raw, and yeah, Shayna Baszler is on Raw now, but I'm thinking about all of the members on the Raw roster, and Drew McIntyre, let's be honest, he wasn't getting a title shot before, but he was getting a lot of victories, getting a lot of wins. Yes, he was a heel. But I can't think of one person, for the most part, that Paul Heyman, literally told WWE or Vince McMahon, I'm not saying like a Heath Slater, nothing against him, but I don't recall see anybody where Paul Heyman took somebody out of the sewer, out of the doldrums, and I'm talking about sewer as their character or their utilization, and turn them into like a big star on television. We used the example earlier of the infamous movie Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. They took Eddie Murphy, they turned him into a millionaire. Even though he was really still technically from the ghetto. I haven't seen Paul Heyman taking Eddie Murphy and turn him into a millionaire. Have you?
And I don't hear Sylvester's "Do You Want to Funk" playing in the background either. I know that's one of your favorites, DT.
Yeah.
That was a great scene, by the way.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
Happy New Year. Did he say Happy New Year or Happy Jew Year?
No, Merry New Year.
Oh, Merry New Year. Ha, ha, ha. Merry New Year.
And then the guy goes, around here we say Happy New
Yeah.
Year.
Did you think Jamie Lee Curtis was hot in there playing a hooker?
Yeah, I thought she looked great. I definitely had a different outlook on her post-Halloween, without a shadow of a doubt.
By the way, 90s guy, since you contributed earlier, I will definitely PM me on Twitter tonight or tomorrow. I want to send some stuff your way. And believe me, your fellow Aussie fans that, especially on Patreon, they will tell you that, my stuff makes it to Australia. You don't have to worry about it. It's not going to get burned in a fire anywhere. And, speaking of Australia, we'll talk a little bit later on about that whole situation with that kid, the Quaid and Bales. I talked about it on Friday, but I know a lot of you out there wanted Kev's take on the situation. But, hey, Raw's in the books. I think out of everything that we've seen tonight, the one thing I'm looking forward to more than anything is Aleister Black and AJ Styles. We're going to get it next week on Raw.
That's a great matchup. Yeah, obviously they jumped him tonight in the hallway, and then they showed Aleister getting back up, and he had a pretty decent match with Rowan tonight. He actually competitive, unlike last week where he really handled him quick. It was a competitive match, but we talked about how the cage fell over, the sheet managed to stay on top of it, and nothing came of it.
Yeah, you know what?
Could have been something that came of it tonight.
That sheet's got to be glued.
It's got to be glued. Yeah.
It's got to be glued. And you know what? I actually said this earlier, and I've said it in the past. Now, thinking about glue, now it kind of erases my whole argument. I've been saying a few times that I can't believe not one drunken fan who goes to a WWE event with his friends around, I can't believe one drunken fan hasn't said to his friends, go on Facebook Live or go on Twitter Live or Periscope, start shooting, recording. I'm going to jump the guardrail and I'm going to pull that cover off that freaking cage, and you make sure you record it and then put it online. I'll get thrown out of the building. I might even get punched in the face by Eric Rowan, and I may not be able to go to a WWE event, but still. And no fan has ever done that. Now with the cage falling over, and I didn't think about this earlier, but I'm thinking about it now in storyline.
So,
what happened to Eric Rowan going up to the cage and going, you look beautiful, you look nice, you look wonderful. When that cage tipped over, why didn't he turn around and go, no? Like, he showed no emotion. It was like, fuck it. He just didn't care that the cage got tipped over.
No, it was on its side it was upside down for a couple of minutes because he went back in the ring, then got knocked out. 2 black mass kicks. The last one really nailed him pretty good. Pinned him 1, 2, 3, and then he just went outside, turned it over, talked to the thing. Again, I don't know if does it even matter anymore what the hell's in the cage. It's going to be so anticlimactic because it should have been revealed at this point. They don't stretch anything out this long. DT, isn't it funny for a lower mid card guy? They're stretching out a thing like this where obviously maybe they don't even know. Maybe Heyman hasn't gotten around to what's actually in the cage.
I mean,
it was like, we don't really know what's in the cage yet. Just keep playing it off.
Yeah, all we know is that it bites and it draws crazy blood. You know what? I just figured it out. Holy shit. I just figured it out.
What?
I know who's in the cage.
Oh.
It bites and it draws blood. Shayna fucking Baszler's in the cage.
Wow, you fit her in that cage.
Yeah, well, she did lose a little bit of weight. I think she's in the cage. Shayna Baszler was in the cage somehow.
Oh my God! But who was the guy backstage, DT, who screamed when he showed? Oh, Mojo Rawley.
Mojo Rawley, yeah.
And you're right, DT. You said, how come Mojo didn't go on the locker room telling people what he saw?
Yeah, and by the way, Kevin Owens comes out. By the way, awesome segment with him and Randy Orton, no question. Decent match Randy tonight. The referee will talk about in a minute. But here's what I don't understand. And again, look, Paul Heyman has entertained me too much for too long for me to go on feed him a shit sandwich. But, I think one thing about us that separates us from everyone else is, we say what's on our mind, good, bad, even if we shouldn't say it. And my mouth gets myself into trouble sometimes. But, just think about this for a minute. At some point, a baseball player can no longer hit like they used to. Some point, somebody can't act like they used to. Some point, somebody who sings can't hit that high note like they used to. In writing for wrestling, maybe this is what's going on with Paul Heyman, and I'll give you a good example. When Edge did that whole concerto thing, did it to Edge, we were saying that Beth Phoenix should have come out the next week on Raw to, what did you do to my husband? And yes, she said something on NXT the next show. But the thing is that after 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that you don't show up on, and I'm talking storyline right now, she should not be on TV next week. Unless she's going to hold hands with Natty and wrestle a tag team match, she should have nothing to do with Randy Orton. Because 3 weeks have gone by. It's stupid now. Now I'll go back to what I was saying earlier with the whole thing with Eric Rowan and Aleister Black and these other things. You have this storyline and, Eric Rowan, what's in the cage? It's biting, it's drawing blood, and it almost feels like because Shayna Baszler bit someone and drew blood, like now all of a sudden the thing in the cage does nothing. You know what I mean? And I'll go one step further. Tonight, Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. Kevin Owens had a great segment with Randy Orton to open up the show. Kevin Owens all upset about what happened with Edge and this and that. Where the fuck were you last week when Matt Hardy got his ass kicked? What happened where were you the week before when Matt Hardy got his ass kicked? Now all of a sudden you care 3 weeks later?
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, you think, like we were talking earlier about this Quaden Bales, this 9-year-old from Australia. Okay. Yeah. And, you know, we really don't have to get into it, you know, because, you know, there's a lot of things that have come out since then. But one point I'll make is this. You know, a lot of people think that the kid's a fraud. A lot of people think the mother's a fraud. I saw the claims that they thought the kid was 18. He's definitely 9. There's video footage from 5 years ago when he was 4. But the kid's an actor and this and that. Now, here's what this has to do with wrestling. The kid is a child actor, okay? Now, for those that don't know what I'm talking about, for those that are looking at the video, this is the kid that we're talking about. I'm sure you've seen the video. It's god-awful what you saw online. But look at that kid's face. That kid in that picture is probably like 4 or 5 years old. Now you look at this. Does that look like the same age as this? I don't think so. So the mom, it looks like, put a video online that's about 4 or 5 years old. Now, since then, he's a child actor. He's won awards. He's shown on the net with crazy amounts of cash. There's pictures of him wearing Gucci stuff. He's got, you know, his mom's got a Mercedes. He's given the middle finger, 9 years old. I mean, good role model, mom. But here's my point, and this has to do with WWE, that in storyline, if Edge is almost crippled from Randy Orton, if you're that upset about it, you show up at minimum the following week to confront him. You don't wait 3 or 4 weeks like Kevin Owens or Beth Phoenix. Your immediate instinct is to confront the person. Again, wrestling is supposed to be entertainment. It's supposed to be suspension of disbelief. The minute this stuff with this kid from Australia started floating around the net, especially that this kid is a child actor, is all over the net already, that mom within 30 minutes should have went online and said, "Oh, everybody, stop. Before this blows up." You know, now they raised $600,000 for this kid. Where's the mom for the last 5 days? You know? So, look, we're redoing the show right now. We didn't want assholes to laugh. But, you know, in 5 minutes, we're like, no, let's go online and let's just... Why is this mom not on the net 30 minutes later telling everybody, look, this video is old, my son's in a much better place, but this should still bring up awareness that, you know, everybody's got to treat each other better and this world could be a better place, blah, 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 blah. But instead, you have people raising money to send him to Disney World, give him MMA lessons. When he turns 16, if that's the legal age in Australia, we'll hook him up with some babes or guys if that's what he likes. You know, it's like they want to do everything for this kid. And all the blue check marks, a lot of them, legitimately felt bad for the kid, but a lot of people, you know, makes them feel good that we should love each other, and then, you know, we should love everybody no matter who they are, and then 5 minutes later, half the country is racist because they follow Trump. You know, so in storyline with wrestling, why is Kevin Owens waiting 3 weeks to confront Randy Orton? Why is Beth Phoenix waiting a month to confront Randy Orton? In storyline, they should be out there within a week at most. And this is Paul Heyman's writing. And even like you said, with Eric Rowan with the thing, the cage falls over tonight. And he's like, oh, let me pull it away from the guardrail so no fan like pulls up the cage and tries to look inside. It just, I don't know.
About that too. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Well, what you were saying about this kid, and obviously we're doing the re-record.
Yeah.
Just to sum it up, again, and I got into it a little bit with something, not in a bad way, like me and Johnny had a little back and forth, because I was saying that, you know, I don't think people are misguided or cruel or heartless for saying, I don't know about all this, I'm suspect. Especially on Twitter, especially in social media. People were waiting for the other shoe to drop. And a couple of days later, like you said, DT, turned out that video was 4 years old, 4 years old. And it wasn't current. And so they're right off the bat, that's very shady. I'm sorry, because that is not current. That's like DT. If you got jumped 4 years ago and you put that online, you put no narrative about when that happened, when DT was jumped and robbed or whatever. And people are like, oh my God, DT, did this just happen? You don't say anything. You let people think it just happened. And then about a week later, you come on and go, oh, it was 4 or 5 years ago, by the way. But no, I put that up there to show violence in the city is still out of control.
You should be up there in 5-10 minutes to set the record straight. Yeah. And, just to fill this in a little bit, yes, Eric Rowan did say, are you okay? But if you follow the storyline, if somebody dared to even touch the cage, he would flip out and destroy the person.
Right.
This thing is upside down, tossed around like a salad, and are you okay? Let me go back to the match. It was just, there was no anger. He should have had paranoia. But at the end of the day, wrestling is supposed to be entertainment, suspension of disbelief. When you take all of the things that, like I just said, even the Lana Lashley, Liv Morgan storyline, Liv Morgan's, apparently had something with Lana, and immediately, it's like the storyline is dead. And you could go on and on with this stuff. I mean, there was one I was just thinking of also with him. I think, again, this is supposed to be suspension of disbelief. Last week or the week before, Becky steals an ambulance, and they keep replaying it, thinking that it's going to be cooler. She gets bit in the neck, and she refuses EMT. I mean, just think about it. Think about when Austin got pile driven by Owen Hart, and he legitimately, got injured with his neck, and it changed his career forever. And you have Steve Austin holding his neck, and he's limping. Or, we could even go a little bit further back when he lost to Bret Hart at WrestleMania, and he refused medical attention, and he just walked off by himself and refused. You didn't see all of a sudden him commandeering a police car or an ambulance or this and that. It's just, if you take the overall scope of all of the things we're saying, this is all on Raw. I mean, SmackDown, the Otis thing, it hasn't come to a conclusion yet. I've come up with my conspiracy theory that I would love for it to be Tucker. Now I'm going to do something later this week that now I'm afraid that it may in fact be Sonya Deville.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's Sonya Deville too.
Because WWE does not think that much outside the box. And it's so much, put it this way, Tucker and Otis, you know what I mean? Like, if Tucker turned, it would be shocking, but then what? With Sonya Deville, they've been teasing kind of a split for a while, and if Sonya Deville splits away, put it this way, Liv doesn't need Sonya Deville on TV as much as Tucker needs Otis.
Mandy.
Tucker needs Mandy and Sonya Deville and Otis and Tucker. So if Sonya Deville breaks away from Mandy Rose, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, it's no big deal. It's nothing against Sonya Deville. I just don't see that much value because you don't see that charisma, the connection. Even when she fights, like, you don't feel anger. There's very little emotion. So I think she's more expendable than Tucker because Tucker and Otis together is, two lovable big guys.
Yeah, they're not ready to break away Otis on his own. And I think Tucker would be dead in the water. I think they shouldn't, they're too new. Sonya's been on the main roster for a couple of years now.
Yeah. So. See the thing, like, I know a lot of you out there were saying, oh, maybe Sonya, it has an infatuation with Mandy. If that was true, then why would she want Mandy to be with Dolph Ziggler?
True.
Trying to think what else happened on Raw tonight. Did you see that segment where, now this was a little of social media carrying over to TV. Because on Valentine's Day, Charlie Caruso wrote something on Twitter, kind of like teasing, maybe a little crush on Angel Garza. Angel Garza's engaged. You know what I mean? Right. So I want people to just immediately realize that. But today,
hot girlfriend too, saw on NXT.
Yeah, but today Charlie's interviewing him, and he like kisses her hand, and she's all gushing. You know, it's going to be interesting to see now that Andrade is back.
Yeah, I don't know what I mean. Obviously, they're doing like he's like the Svengali type of guy. I mean, that's what they probably should do with him, Angel Garza. But again, I'm not sure. My theory of Andrade coming back is because they even alluded tonight, DT, to the fact that Zelina might be more involved with him than just a manager or just an advisor. So they were alluding to the fact that he's sleeping with Zelina. So I'm wondering if Andrade comes back and again does this thing like, who is this rookie guy? You're with me, you're not with this kid. Or they do some sort of thing where, protege, let him be your protege, and Zelina talks Andrade into letting mentor this kid, and then the dissension comes, the jealousy, and maybe it peaks at WrestleMania. But I think Andrade's, for some reason, I think Andrade's going to turn. I think he's going to become a babyface.
I don't know. It's interesting, but, we're going to see Andrade Thursday in Saudi Arabia. Then next week, it's going to be Andrade teaming up with Angel Garza versus Humberto and Rey Mysterio.
Should be a good match.
The hell's going on with Dominic?
Dominic who?
Rey's son.
Good question.
What happened?
I thought you were talking about someone in the chat.
No.
Dominic who?
I wasn't talking about Dijakovic. We're talking about Dominic Rey Mysterio's son. What happened with all that?
I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe he's still injured from that Lesnar attack.
That was a good attack, though.
That was a great attack, yeah.
Cain Velasquez?
Cain Velasquez still hurt.
Yeah. Oh, now we talked about it last week with Fuckface training. What was that August 1st warning? What was that August 1st? The August 1st guy, Tito Ortiz.
Fuckface.
I mean, look, he seems like a nice guy, and I would be scared shit to be around him. But even if the Performance Center could get him to do a couple of moves that look good, I just can't get past August 1st warning. I mean, it's just WWE has this infatuation. And look, Tyson Fury, I've said this a while now. I like Tyson Fury 1,000 times more than I like Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez, he's not grown on me yet, and he may. But I know for many, many years, Tito Ortiz, the fuck away from my TV screen. Wasn't he supposed to? Well, no, forget it. I'm not even going to go there. But they have this infatuation now of getting some MMA guys or some multi-sport guys to do work WWE, and so far Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman was not good, and Cain Velasquez and Brock Lesnar. I mean, it was God, I mean, the match was quicker than I probably could, I hate to say it, blow a load on Porn XS. I mean, if I went on Porn XS in the middle of the night, that match was over before I could even pull my boxers down. And we're going to do predictions in a few minutes, by the way.
That's good that you don't have the other problem that all the guys have. That takes a long time. So it's good that you quicker.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it. But I don't know. I am open to anybody new, even if they don't have a long wrestling background or they're coming from a different sport. Till the day I die, will always say that I enjoyed Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow. And, go ahead.
Well, DT, wouldn't you more compare it to, because these guys are coming into the business to be in the business, not coming in for a cup of coffee. But look how well Ken Shamrock and Kurt Angle did.
Yeah.
Why did they do so much better 20 years ago? Now it seems like the guys who are coming in now, two left feet almost. It's almost like, I don't know about these guys. Will we ever see in our lifetime another Kurt Angle or Ken Shamrock take from, a real wrestling collegiate Olympic background or a real shoot fighting background like Shamrock, take to pro wrestling like ducks to water like those guys did? Or we're going to see a bunch of awkward guys who used to be in there and have a half-ass decent career? You think we're ever going to see another Angle or Ken Shamrock? Probably not, right?
Two things stick out to me right away. First of all, their age. If you look at Kurt Angle when he started wrestling, his age, and Ken Shamrock, his age at the time, they were younger. And not only that, when you get someone like a Tyson Fury or someone involved, they're still committed to that other sport. Ken Shamrock became a full-time wrestler. Kurt Angle was full-time pro wrestler. These guys are, that's the reason why, if you remember, who's that jackass that teamed up with R-Truth in TNA? Pac-Man Jones?
Oh, Pac-Man Jones. Yeah,
I don't know what they were thinking at that time. I mean, yes, he ended up getting so much heat on himself that he actually was a pretty damn good heel. But he won the tag titles with R-Truth, and he did nothing. And when I was doing a history show up until last year, I had to relive that match, and I watched it purposely to remind myself why it doesn't work out too often or ever, very rare, that you have someone who is still involved in another sport and you venture them into pro wrestling. I think of King Mo. I think of Tito Ortiz. I think of some of these other people over the years when they were still committed to another. Bobby Lashley, a little exception because Bobby Lashley was already a wrestler before he ventured into MMA. So, this is the opposite. So when you got Cain Velasquez and Tyson Fury and Tito Ortiz, it's all smoke and mirrors. Cain Velasquez is probably the only exception because I saw the work he did in Mexico. He actually was not bad. But unfortunately, injuries have prevented him from to do a lot more. Matt Riddle, Matt Riddle would be a good example, but Matt Riddle is not doing MMA right now.
True. That's true. He's focused completely on wrestling.
Yeah.
He left MMA to be a wrestler.
Right, exactly. So you don't see too many successful wrestlers who are coming from a different sport, but are still doing that sport. Usually they get 1, 2, 3 moves in, get a paycheck, and then they leave. I remember with Tyson Fury, I remember doing the Saudi recap that day, and I said, all these people out there think that Tyson Fury could stick around, even though he did the nice interviews. That wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. His boxing career was not going to allow that. So, anyway, this Thursday, we'll talk a little bit about Raw. We still haven't talked about the ending, but we have Super Showdown this Thursday. There will be a recap after the event ends. For those on Patreon, there will be a predictions contest. Because this is a Saudi Arabia event and not a regular WWE pay-per-view, the contest will be much easier. You don't have to use confidence points. First prize will probably be like $100, and the runner-up will be $50. I might have like a Bray Wyatt package as like an alternate prize if somebody wants that. The only thing is, for our patrons, you have to have your entries in by midnight Wednesday night, because this event starts 12 noon on Thursday. Yours truly is going to be out of my house by 7. I have to go to work a couple of hours early if I'm going to be able to go home at noon to watch the show, cover it, everything else. So just to let everybody know. One thing, I don't know if we should read too much into this right now, but Rusev was pulled from Saudi Arabia this Thursday. He will not be in the gauntlet. Rey Mysterio will be taking his place instead.
And we're thinking it could be travel, it could be him not signing a contract, it could be anything.
Right, could be anything. Lana today saying Rusev Day is dead. I mean, she would have said that even if Rusev already signed a 10-year deal. That's the storyline. But, ever since they started this storyline with Lashley and Rusev, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it feels like this storyline has been awfully one-sided. It feels like Lashley has been the one to be on top, pun intended, like 90% of the time. It doesn't feel like that 50-50 balance. Like usually with storylines like this, the sympathetic guy gets his revenge in the end. And it does not feel like Rusev, look, they interrupted the wedding and this and that, but that's nonsense. It just feels the overall storyline, Rusev, I know some of you have called him a cock and this. I think that's a little over the top. I just feel that Rusev, there was a lot more revenge that Rusev should have gotten in this storyline that didn't.
Agreed.
But he's been the MVP of the storyline. He took chicken shit and turned it into chicken salad.
That's true.
So anyway, you want to get into
Predictions.
Predictions, yeah. So we have Super Showdown this Thursday. 12 noon is the start. That's probably going to be the pre-show. And again, you know, we're going to get into the matches. Now, earlier, for those that tune in live, earlier tonight, before we did the redo, as soon as I started putting the photos, I noticed that the audio just went south. I don't know why. So I think we should be safe now, especially since I showed a couple of pictures earlier. But the first match we could get into, this is for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Murphy and Seth Rollins teaming up, defending the titles against I don't even know like yeah, I know Dawkins but you know what I mean? Like those two guys is where they should only use a last name. They don't look like basketball guys, but their character wearing the headbands and the red outfits, they remind me of a basketball look. Those two guys should have no first names. But Street Profits taking on Murphy and Rollins for the Raw Tag titles. Who are you taking?
I'm going to go. I don't think they're going to switch the belts there. So I'm going to go with Seth and Murphy retaining.
Yeah, me too. There ain't no way they're getting those belts. This feels like a match that was just thrown together as filler. I don't feel any title changes going down. Next, cage match. The storyline that won't end. We have Roman Reigns taking on Baron Corbin in a cage.
Reigns all the way. This feud must die. They must end this feud. And it's got to be Reigns. Momentum going into Mania. Corbin is not more important than Reigns to sacrifice Reigns. So Reigns all the way.
I'm going to get back to Reigns in a minute, but they should have advertised that this is the last time ever that they face each other. You know what I mean? Right. If they would have done that, I probably would have been into the match a little more. But this is just a storyline that, it's almost like, when you get that feeling when your girl says, I'm 2 weeks late. And you start really getting that uneasy feeling like, oh, my God, she's late. When is she going to get it? And then when she gets it, you're like, oh, thank God. That's what I feel like right now. This storyline, as if my girl said to me, honey, I'm 4 weeks late. And like I get this really uneasy feeling in my stomach and this and that. And then after Thursday, if we find out there's no more match with them, that's like her getting a period to be like, oh, thank fucking God. That's how I feel like right now.
I think it is the final, but they're not saying it, but I think this is the final chapter.
Seriously, man. Seriously. This has got to end. And I think it will. I mean, the rosters are so thin on both brands, and they are pretty thin if you think about it, that this will be a go-to match on Fox again. Just for the kids and because it's Fox regular TV, this will be a match again in the future. But for the storyline purposes, and I'll tell you why in a little while, why I think this may actually get the Liv Morgan Ruby Riott shift. I'll talk about it after. But Smackdown tag titles. We got the New Day defending the titles against Miz and Morrison.
I'm going to go with the New Day.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to go New Day.
All right. No, it's fine. That's cool.
To pop the crowd, I think, and then just to give the crowd something.
Before Morrison even signed, I said, okay, this is where I see Mania. New Day tag champs, Miz Morrison, Heavy Machinery. Now, yes, look, this whole dating storyline has screwed everything up because as much as I really want to see Tucker be that scumbag, because that would be probably the heel turn swerve of the year, it feels like they could see. This is the thing also, and I know this sucks that we're going back and forth with that storyline, but they're on regular Fox television on a Friday. You could see that the product is more kid friendly, and Otis and Tucker as the two likable big guys is the perfect characters for Friday Night Smackdown on regular Fox television. So the more I think about it, it's like, damn, man, if this was Raw, I would still bet on Tucker turning. I wish it would still be that, but if they do make the swerve on Sonya Deville, then I see Heavy Machinery getting the tag titles at WrestleMania. I'm still holding out hope that Tucker ends up being Mother Tucker, that son of a bitch turned on Otis. But because I'm a little, concerned that WWE won't go that route, I'm going to still stick with Miz and Morrison winning those tag titles on Thursday. Okay. So next, we have Bayley defending the Women's Championship. Again, the SmackDown Women's Championship against Naomi. Now, I said this earlier. When we had Natty and Lacey Evans fight, even though Lacey Evans was a heel, you would have never knew that she was a heel at the time because of the footage that they recorded and how it was history and this and that. They're going to be recording footage because this is still history. You don't have one women's match in Saudi Arabia and then all of a sudden, okay, everything is normal now, all the women could fight. There's going to be decades before women are on the same playing field as men in Saudi Arabia. So I'm wondering, maybe during the match, Bayley will be a heel, but I think outside that ring, you probably will see more of a old school Bayley, taking it in because of still that history. I don't see her ragging on the fans or anything like that, but as far as the match itself, who are you going with to win?
I'm going to go with, I don't know if they would switch the women's title there. Jeez. I'm gonna just take a long shot. I'm gonna go Naomi winning the belt.
Okay, all right. Mm-hmm. I still holding out hope of Bayley and Sasha Banks. I mean, I've been talking about it for 5 months now. So, I actually said a couple of weeks ago that Naomi, unfortunately, she's like the what are those places when you're driving somewhere like on I-95 and you
like a stopover?
Where they have like the McDonald's and the gas, like the rest area.
Yeah, like a stopover they call it.
Yeah. Bayley's road to WrestleMania was still about 6 or 7 weeks away. So she had tons of driving to do. So Bayley had to stop and take a leak and go buy some donuts, get some gas, stop at the rest area. Her match with Naomi, in my opinion, is the stop in the rest area. This is the stop before she goes to WrestleMania. So, and I hate to say it like that, but it's just the aura that I felt about this. I think Bayley retains, and I still want to see her take on Sasha at WrestleMania.
Okay, that's fair.
Next we have the gauntlet match, and this is I call it the Twig Trophy, the Twig. Yeah, I don't want to make fun of it because I think it's like a famous mountain in Saudi Arabia, but they have this gauntlet match. The photo that I'm showing right now has Rusev in on it. He is not. Rey Mysterio is in the match, but it is for the trophy. You have R-Truth, Rey Mysterio, Andrade, Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, and Eric Rowan.
I'm going to go with AJ Styles.
Okay. One Fall says Sasha is injured. We're only February 25th.
Yeah.
Is she out for WrestleMania? I haven't heard that. If she's out for WrestleMania, then I'd be a little concerned, but it's still a ways away. I'm going with R-Truth to win it.
Really? R-Truth?
Yeah. I 2 reasons. Right after, if I remember this correctly, I think right after the Saudi Arabia event, they're doing that 24 special on R-Truth. And R-Truth, I could just picture the comedy where he walks around with the trophy and he thinks it's a 24/7 title. Yeah. Like he defends the trophy, or he thinks he's going to defend the trophy. It's not like something you defend. I'm actually going with R-Truth to win it.
All right, that's not bad. If I didn't say AJ, I would have won R-Truth, but I'm going to still go with AJ.
Yeah, that's cool. And we might end up being both wrong, but I'll go with.
We might be.
Yeah. All right, 2 matches left. I'm just warning everybody on Patreon right now. This will be the tiebreaker question. How long does Ricochet survive against Brock Lesnar? Kudos for WWE the last 2 weeks trying to give us a suspension of disbelief that Ricochet could possibly beat Lesnar. He beats Gallows today, big man, like, hey. That win today is not a push for Ricochet. I think I just rhymed. I think that's just designed to have some people, oh my God, he beat Gallows. Maybe he could beat Lesnar. I think he doesn't even survive 90 seconds with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, it's going to be quick. I think it's going to be quick. It could even just be as quick as he beat Kofi Kingston.
And let me tell you this. If you hear Brock Lesnar's music at the beginning of the night, all of these websites that are still licking their wounds from all of the god-awful news reporting that they did from Saudi Arabia last time, when they said now that it's an unwritten rule now that all the wrestlers are going to wait for each other before they go home from Saudi Arabia, if Lesnar's music hits extremely early, that son of a bitch is on a plane before Saudi Arabia is even over. Don't buy this shit on these websites. They were wrong about them being forced to stay in Saudi Arabia originally. Don't trust them now. So I say Lesnar destroys him.
Yep.
I think Ricochet dodges him and tries to be like Jack in the not Jack in the Beanstalk. I did the whole TNA gospel speech that time. I can't remember who was it. Does anybody in the chat remember when I did that whole Jack and the Beanstalk? It wasn't Jack and the Beanstalk. It was some folk tale it was a religious thing with some giant guy and some little guy or whatever. I can't remember, but I think Ricochet is going to run around the ring and Brock is not going to be able to keep David and Goliath. Thank you, Ergoth. Ricochet is going to be like David. And Goliath is going to be Lesnar, but Ricochet is, after a few seconds, Lesnar is just going to grab him, toss him around like a salad. It's going to be over.
Agreed.
So now, the final match. And tell you, I know we probably would debate it a little bit. I liked the interaction with Goldberg and Bray Wyatt Friday. I thought it was fine. And the only reason why I thought it was fine, because I thought of Seth Rollins. Yeah. When Seth Rollins was feuding with The Fiend and Seth Rollins was in the corner, scared shit and afraid to open his eyes, Goldberg's like, no, motherfucker, I'm going to spear the shit out of you. So I thought that was the right way to do it. But what do you think's going to happen in this match? A lot of people think Goldberg's going to win.
They're probably going to be surprised what I say, too. I think Goldberg's going to win the title. I do believe that. I don't know. Again, I'm not the biggest Goldberg fan. He was sweating up a storm and panting like a motherfucker after 1 minute in the ring with Bray after that spear. He looked like he was halfway to a heart attack, which is not good. Again, cosmetically, he looks good. I don't know why he gets winded so quick with a body like that.
Adrenaline.
Adrenaline, possibly. He's 53. But I just think he's going to win the belt, and I do believe I'm not going by because rumors and fantasy booking. I just believe at DT that I think it's going to be him versus Roman Reigns in WrestleMania. I think that just matches up spear versus spear, old guard versus new guard, the version of him against the old guard. I don't know. I just have a feeling they want him in WrestleMania and they want to put him against somebody to get some mileage out of him. So I think there's a means to an end of him winning the belt. And I think he beats The Fiend. And I don't think there's a rematch. I believe Goldberg defends the belt against somebody else at WrestleMania. That somebody else being Roman Reigns. Just what I think. I could be wrong completely, but I'm going to go with Goldberg to win the title.
You know what? Even if you're wrong, that means WWE did their job. Because if they could convince a lot of people to think that Goldberg is going to win, even though that may not be their plans, they did their job. When you can't really determine who's going to win. So like Shayna Baszler in the Elimination Chamber, ain't nobody. What was that movie? Was it Creep Show? Where was Leslie Nielsen the devil or something where somebody said if you there was something where if you hit the lighter, I think if the lighter lit like a certain number of times, you got like something. But if the lighter didn't light once, you were dead or something like that. I think, if somebody told me right now that my life depended on it and you have to, there ain't no way Shayna Baszler is losing that Elimination Chamber. There ain't no way that's going to happen. No. But now, before I tell everybody what I think's going to happen in this match, I don't normally do this, but I would love for everybody to do this. I'm looking live right now, and I appreciate everybody who stuck around, and that's why we did the redo, and we didn't wait till Tuesday because we didn't want to shortchange anybody out there. But I'm still new to YouTube. I'm only on there about 5 weeks, and I understand now the importance of not only likes but dislikes, that influences YouTube to show the clips to others. So if everybody out there, if you like the show so far and you're satisfied, hit the like button. Because I see right now only about 10% of you did. Just that would mean a lot. Now, I thought about this match long and hard, and I've thought about every outcome in the match. I thought about the rumors that are flying around with Goldberg, possibly Roman Reigns having a match. That is something that's been flying around as well. Goldberg would be shock value. I just can't picture Roman Reigns against Goldberg at Mania. I can't picture John Cena versus Goldberg at Mania because that's another match that people have been claiming that WWE is considering. No, people don't know. All right, and how you know that they don't know is because when they put a match out there that hasn't been announced yet, and then they realize, oh, wait, we fucked up. Then they put out the news story saying, oh, no, WWE changed plans for WrestleMania. In the 25-plus years that the internet has been around, have you ever heard Vince McMahon or WWE management ever come out when a website says WWE changed the match for WrestleMania? Have they ever come out and said, don't follow him, they're wrong, shut up? They don't acknowledge.
No,
they don't acknowledge. Just don't buy that crap. So now I believe this. Anybody that's ever watched the Firefly Funhouse segments, in the background, he's got the red X's on the eyes of everybody who he has destroyed. If you put aside Goldberg, because it's Saudi Arabia and it's the Saudi money, really the only person for the most part that he is, attacked. Let me say it like this. If you look at Bray Wyatt's wall on the Firefly Funhouse with all of the X's in the eyes, the storyline to me for a long time was that everybody on that wall were people that Bray Wyatt interacted with in the past, and one by one, he was gaining revenge on everybody who he feuded with in the past. Yes, John Cena is still not on that list. Yes, other people are not on that list. But I feel that the next picture that we should see in the background with the red X on the eyes is Roman Reigns. So if Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin, well, actually, let me take a step back. If Goldberg versus The Fiend happens very early on Thursday, it would not surprise me if possibly during the Roman Reigns Baron Corbin match, maybe The Fiend attacks Roman Reigns, and that's next on the agenda. I think as much as Goldberg has been almost an unstoppable force since he returned a few years ago, I think him getting choked out with the mandible claw by Bray Wyatt and he becomes unconscious, the referee calls for the bell. This way, Goldberg doesn't lose any stock because he just passed out. He didn't tap out. He didn't get pinned. So I see Bray Wyatt choking him out, and he just passes out. I think the next opponent for Bray Wyatt may, in fact, be Roman Reigns. I could be wrong, but I just picture that wall, and I picture the red X's, and I want to see Roman Reigns' face with the red X in the eyes. I'm not saying I want to see Roman Reigns versus The Fiend. I'm just saying what I think may happen on this pay-per-view.
Okay.
So we shall see. We shall see. But I tell you, one thing that nobody's talking about, and it surprises me that nobody's talking about it. Not just us sponsors. By the way, I'm putting them on the screen. And originally I was going to wear a Rusev Day hat today, but I wanted to show off Canvas Theories merchandise because they got really, really cool shit. And I definitely recommend if you want a really cool hat or t-shirt, go to canvastheory.com. They got great stuff. I'm wearing it right now. But where is Mansoor in this card? Like, I don't want to see him doing pre-show. He was awesome with the NXT pay-per-view.
He was pretty good. He's always peppered in. I don't know who would they put him? Dolph Ziggler? Who are they going to put him against?
Do you think it's possible that, even though my prediction or my preference, R-Truth, winning this cup, do you think it's possible that somebody gets laid out and Mansoor takes their place and wins?
That's a good one, DT. I didn't even think about that. That's a good one, especially with what the prize is for, and him being a home countryman. Yeah, that's a good possibility, DT. I like it.
Yeah, and I tell you, man, I was so impressed. And look, Mansoor has done commentary before. Let's make this clear. But the difference is on a pay-per-view, and you're doing a pre-show, and you're dealing with Sam Roberts, and you're dealing with Charlie Caruso or someone else, and that talk, somebody has to take a stance. Sam Roberts, right now, because he's being shitted on, he predicts in his predictions a lot of the heels. You can't have everybody picking the same person. So the fact that Mansoor has to, spur in a moment, go against others where you wouldn't just call a match, he was phenomenal on the pre-show for NXT.
He was really good.
And I remember the last Saudi event, Mansoor's match was my favorite match on the card. He fought Cesaro, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Raven says Mansoor is in Rowan's cage.
He might be.
I'm telling you, I think Shayna Baszler is inside the cage. But that's pretty funny, man. The thing bites and draws blood, and now because Shayna Baszler... I do laugh at websites a couple of weeks ago that said that Shayna Baszler was now going to be like a vampire and biting everybody and this and that. I was like, I don't know. Have you seen that? I haven't seen that. But so that is the pay-per-view. I think it's going to be a lot better than people think. Sure, it's that sweet Saudi money, as a lot of people say, but, nobody is forced to go there, So, and it's interesting, the people who complained last time, they're going again. I wonder if Undertaker shows up. A little surprised Undertaker is not going to this one.
Yeah, no Undertaker this time around, but yet Goldberg gets a championship match.
Yeah. By the way, we didn't mention this earlier, but congratulations to Kairi Sane. Yes. She was not on Raw today, and I don't recall, maybe somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, when somebody told me over the weekend that she got married, I was like, that's wonderful. My first reaction was, I hope WWE acknowledges it on television. I know they did on their website, but, I don't recall them mentioning today that Kairi Sane was not there because she was on her honeymoon or got married. So, again, maybe I'm wrong and they did say something tonight, but I don't recall. But she did get married, and she's probably on her honeymoon right now, and that's why she was not on television, as far as I know. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Something else. And look, anybody out there knows I don't need to take credit for stuff, but I appreciate everybody who saw how detailed I got into with Teddy Hart's arrest. And on Friday, I explained to everybody home incarceration program and why he was being forced to stay in Virginia. He had other options, but he told them that he had residence in Virginia. That's why they offered him that deal. But, I do get a lot of legal stuff before everyone else. And I appreciate everybody who noticed this today, but, I have to talk about it since it's news anyway. But, back in the mid-'90s, I used to work for Chase Manhattan Bank. And I used to skip trace. And over the years, I got contacts. I have access to software because I'm involved in insurance, background checks. Like, I could access a lot of things that a lot of regular people cannot. And I'm not saying in a bragging, but I'm just saying there's reasons why I have access to things. When I used to work for Chase Manhattan Bank, I swear on my mother, I'll say it now, we used to, because we would have access. In fact, I'll tell everybody a really cool story. I don't know if you even know this, Kev. You might get a kick out of this. A long time ago, Matt Zombie and Brian Damage, they interviewed, oh my God, Who the hell did they interview? Oh, he was a big Paul Orndorff. He interviewed Paul Orndorff.
I think I remember that. Okay.
Yeah. Now, I still have the interview somewhere online, but for those that go back to my hotline days, do you know how they got that interview?
How?
Brian Damage worked for some credit card company at the time. It was some bank, and Paul Orndorff was, I think, in arrears. He was like a month or two behind on his bill. So Brian Damage had, this is for the story I remember. I could be a little off, but I'm usually when I tell these stories, I'm 99.9% certain in everything I say. But I do know that Paul Orndorff owed money. Brian Damage was the one that called him to collect the debt. And Brian Damage said, listen, we do this wrestling hotline. How's about, we'll have you on and I could, make this go away. That's how they got the interview with Paul Orndorff. And if anybody ever remembers that interview, at the very beginning, Paul Orndorff, I played the clip where Matt Zombie was thanking Paul, because I was there too, recording it, and I didn't really get involved with the interview, but Matt Zombie's like, listen, Paul, this was an honor. I love this and that. And Paul Orndorff's response to him was, it's cool to have one asshole talking to another asshole. But he said that to be funny because Paul Orndorff, to a lot of people, he was an asshole over the years. And he was joking with Matt and Brian being an asshole because that's how they got the interview, because he owed money. But when I worked for Chase Manhattan Bank and I would collect the credit card debts, we would be able to run credit reports because we would skip trace. I used to collect debts in Texas, and I would get a neighbor's phone number, and I would call, and I would say, hi, I speak to Calvin. Who's this? This is Anthony. Could you put Calvin on the phone? How'd you get my number? Well, Calvin gave me this number. He says sometimes he stays over by you. And then I'm his neighbor, Calvin. And then people get on the phone. And as soon as they get on the phone, I'm like, Calvin? I'm like, yeah, this is Anthony from Chase Manhattan Bank. How come you haven't paid your bill? So I used to be able to run credit reports. And this is mid-90s. So I used to run Darryl Strawberry's, Dwight Gooden's. I would get all their addresses, and then I write letters to them to try to get autographs.
Oh, God.
I would have been fired on the spot if they knew about this. Swear to God. But anyway, so I got my connection. So everybody that has legal issues, and even people that don't, I have everything set up with databases. So if someone gets arrested, or is incarcerated, have some legal updates, I usually get them before everyone else. And last night, I had gotten notification that the court approved the release of Tammy Sitch. She's been in jail for a year. She's coming out March 25th. So this morning, again, it's not, I want to be first, I want to be right. This morning, I got up, took a shower, about 8:30 this morning. I went online. I said, hey, everybody, I got directly from PA. She's going to be released on March 25th. PW Spyware puts it up 4 or 5 hours later, and everybody's saying PW Insider is reporting they broke the story. And this, and I'm like, motherfuckers, I put that up 5 hours before anybody else. So, but yeah, so I wanted to report it as news anyway. But again, I appreciate everybody who took note that, I'm the one. No websites will ever acknowledge DTKC Show Wednesday night. We're toxic. So, and that's the way it should be. So, anyway. So Tammy Sitch is going to be out of prison March 25th. You think being in jail for a year will scare her straight this time?
I hope so. I mean, she's running out of chances. I mean, she's been incarcerated a few times. She's been arrested, I think, something like 8 to 10 times in the last 10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
She's I think she's got to straighten up. I hope she does. I mean, again, the cashing in that she could have did on her success had she walked the line, DT, and been in good with WWE, and they could have made her maybe an ambassador if she had her head on straight, and she'd be making good money. She wouldn't have to be working at gyms, and not there's anything wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, she could be cashing in. She's the original diva, her and Sable. And her life just went awry, and she needs to, it can't be an excuse because Chris Candido died or whatever. It's been years now, and she's not doing his memory any honors, I can tell you right now. But again, if she straightens up, everyone, even myself, would be more than happy to give her another chance, because I had given up on her, because it gets ridiculous after a while. 8 arrests, 9 arrests, stalking, this and that, ex-boyfriend. It just gets ridiculous. What is she doing with her life? Yeah. And again, she straightens up. The WWE has hired back worse. Scott Hall, other people. She can get back in the good graces and make a nice little living for herself again, and can close this chapter. I hope she straightens up.
Look, I interacted with her a bunch of times over the years. I've told the story ad nauseum about, bringing them in for Frank Goodman shows and, guarding all their bags, and, the airport XPW and the Chris Candido, Trib Memorial Show, and I raised money to gave to her for the fund. I've had nothing but pleasant experiences with her. And, it's a shame. It's an absolute shame. I hope when she gets out that this scared her straight. I've said this many times. When I was younger, I used to, look at it totally different. But alcoholism is a sickness. It's an illness. In a lot of cases, your body gets chemically dependent on it. And she has an illness. And when you see certain, especially, look, you usually see it from athletes, celebrities, musicians, because they have such a big fan following. You don't usually see it, somebody has 100 followers. But you'll see people occasionally say, I'm celebrating 20 years sobriety. I'm celebrating not drinking for 15 years. And, on the surface, you say to yourself, if you haven't drank in 20 years, why are you still bringing it up? It should not be a big deal now. You haven't drank in 20 years. Good. That's, but to that person who had that sickness and their life was turned upside down and stepped on, those anniversaries are very, very, Jeff Jarrett is a great example of it. Jeff Jarrett, I used to shit on with TNA and Global Farce Wrestling and all that other stuff. And I remember when he showed up at that one Fed, I think in Canada, and he was inebriated, and then he went home a day early. And, everybody was in denial, but he had an alcoholic problem, and he went into rehab. So now when he celebrates that he's 5 years clean, 2 years clean, 3 years clean, that's very important to them. So I hope that she can overcome this, but it's going to be a battle for her for the rest of her life. So hopefully not having it in her system for a year. Like, I'm just hoping when she gets out, even if she immediately hangs out with friends, that I hope they don't do a toast. You know what I mean? Like, have club soda, have apple juice, but don't do a champagne toast or something like that for getting out. She shouldn't even have alcoholic cold medicine. Stay away from it.
No, she's got to totally walk the line. That's her only chance. She's getting older too. She's in her mid-40s now. This is, they say, there could be more chances, but it's really, I think, her last chance in public perception. Because how many times are people just like, oh, this woman again arrested? So, I hope she takes I hope, she comes out looking better, and someone guides her, or she has a go-to person that can keep her on the straight and narrow.
Yeah. By the way, I want to shout out our associate producers, and want to welcome back Sean D. Pasquale, who signed up last week. I have them on the ticker right now. Somebody said the NASDAQ ticker. I'm putting it on the screen because we had to do a redo tonight, and it's already 1 a.m. over here, and we still got a few more things to talk about, but for those who are tuning into this episode, I had a massive technical difficulty earlier with YouTube and my computer updating software at the same time, which doesn't make sense because all the settings that I have, it's supposed to disable all of that. But even right now on the laptop that I use to connect to you, like, I hear the fan going in the background, so that son of a bitch must be updating stuff as well right now. I don't know, because I don't turn these computers on every day, especially the laptop. It's only on 2 days a week. So, I apologize for everybody who experienced, the clusterfuck earlier, but we weren't going to wait till Tuesday afternoon to do a redo. We wanted to do it immediately. You all stood up. I know you watch wrestling tonight anyway, but you stood up to check out the show, so we felt obligated to do the show tonight. So,
Absolutely.
And that's why, like I said, I don't normally ask for it, but, if everybody out there watching this is enjoying it, hit that like button.
Yeah.
Again, I never even understood why that was so important on YouTube, but, that would be very much appreciated. We really don't have to add too much to this, but we talked about it last week and the week before, but it is now confirmed. The Bellas are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and I know you had said, and I agree with you, it probably would have been good for them to do the Hollywood thing. California makes sense. But I think they just wanted to stack the deck and really load it up, the Hall of Fame. They got Batista there, so why not put the Bellas? Hogan, all the big stars, all the people who are in the spotlight now and from yesteryear. It's a nice little, it's a pretty good ensemble they got going on there. And if it's true that just Justin Liger, who hasn't been officially announced, is a rumor that'll be announced, and Davey Boy Smith, who hasn't been officially announced, that would be a nice way to round it out. And maybe one or two more they might add last minute. JBL, there's talk about that. But it's looking like it's just about a full boat now. But right off the bat, with Batista, Nash, Hall, Hogan, Bellas, it should be sold out right there.
I think so.
Empty seat in the house on that one.
Yeah, I still think 2021 was ideal. Neither one would be pregnant. Yeah, look, I agree. They would have newborns, obviously, that would only be a few months old. But I personally think 2021, Hollywood, it doesn't fit any better. Let's not fool ourselves. Even though they're going in this year, they will be on the red carpet next year. They will be featured in Hollywood. They will be a part of the WWE family next year. So it ain't like they're getting their award and now they're going to disappear for the next 15 years. We'll see them next year on TV. I just think with them going Hollywood, with the Hollywood theme, again, they're not responsible for the women's revolution. They're not responsible for the women's evolution. They're responsible for the Divas revolution and evolution. They set the stage for other women to be on reality shows. They are Hollywood. So it should have been next year. But they didn't do it. So we'll see who gets put in next year. But again, I think they deserved it. I agree there's some other women that should have been in years ago. But for the magnitude of what they have done related to this era and the Hollywood and the reality TV, plus E-Network and just celebrity status, somebody said, I thought it was a little cruel. If Coco Beware could be in there, so can they.
This is true. Nikolai Volkov, Coco Beware, Cowboy Bob Orton, yeah.
Yeah, I just... Somebody is mentioning Sable. I don't know. Brock Lesnar has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that may end up being, it's going to happen someday. But I just think because, Brock Lesnar is such a private person, I don't think that is something that they're looking at. Hey, who knows? Maybe Sable goes in next year.
Yeah, I saw a picture of her from not too long ago. She still looks good.
Yeah.
She keeps us. I was afraid, maybe they're keeping her secluded because she doesn't look no, but she looks great. I saw a picture from maybe 10 months ago.
Yeah,
and she's just as valuable as Sunny, probably more so because they can get more. They got some stuff out of Sable in ring as well, which they didn't get out of Sunny. So yeah, Sable's definitely a Hall of Fame, a pioneer for the women, and yeah, one day she'll go in. She's got a name, and that'll be interesting to see Brock induct her. That'll be something, huh?
Now let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Since we're talking about women, Hall of Famers, and even what she's done in the past, and we talked about husband and wives and wrestling, and Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella and Brock Lesnar and Sable. What's your take on what's going on right now with Vicky Guerrero? Because for those that don't know, Vicky Guerrero went on a podcast And she said because she appeared on AEW, WWE will not allow WWE wrestlers to appear on a podcast right now. And Vicky Guerrero is hurt. She feels, look, WWE hasn't called me the last couple of years. What else? What did they expect me to do? But I saw people getting very angry at WWE. Superstar Billy Graham said some crazy things today. There's a lot of people out there that are very, very pissed off at WWE right now. And the one thing that I see written repeatedly is that her husband died for this business, and this is the way they treat her, which, in my opinion, I think whoever says that has no business saying that. Yeah. What's your take on this whole situation, including that?
To whoever who said that, take a look at how she got in the business and was given a job for almost a decade post her husband's death. That's ridiculous. They took very good care of the Guerrero family for quite a while. Vicky turned out to be a natural. Nobody knew that when she was just a wife standing in the ring with Eddie for certain segments before she became the excuse me woman. So they took a chance on someone who had no experience wrestling, gave her a job because they did feel bad about what happened to Eddie. And that was not on the Eddie chose to take growth hormones. Eddie chose to take steroids. You can't put that on WWE. He died on their watch while he was under their employ. But you can't blame that on them. That's not fair. Not that death. Maybe other deaths you can. They gave her a job. She was there for quite a while. They let her go, but she had a plan to go back to school, and she had a whole big post-wrestling plan. And she was happy to leave. It wasn't any kind of bad parting of the ways. You remember that, DT. And there was good harmony between them for the last couple of years. She made an appearance here and there. And then they didn't call her, and AEW did, and she went on the Jericho cruise and all that stuff. And WWE was not happy about that. Do they have a right to? I don't think anybody has a right to deny anybody a right to make a living. That goes on in my business, the club business. When bookers and promoters work for other clubs, the club kind of punishes them by not giving them dates. And if you need a date for a gig, all of a sudden it's booked. And no, well, go work in Brooklyn. We don't need you here in Queens. It's like that. It's like that in Hollywood sometimes too, with studios who work for certain people. It goes on. It goes on with agents and managers. If you do a favor for somebody, someone gets rubbed the wrong way because they get no coin out of it. They have no right to Vicky's a free agent. She's nomadic. She can do whatever she wants. I don't agree with infringing on anybody's right to make a living. I think that's garbage. This isn't the mafia. This isn't, shakedown days. Talk about a new day, not just for women, but in general. I don't like that blackballing or purposefully not giving somebody a gig or then telling somebody to sit at home. We'll call you, but don't work for somebody else. Nobody has a right to do that. I find that very offensive, especially if no one's paying your dime. No one has a right to tell you what to do. And with that said, though, don't say to bring up the Eddie thing that rubbed me the wrong way because they did do a lot for the Guerrero family for a long time. I don't think, but Billy Graham, he went off. You read it, DT. He called Vince McMahon every name in the book, scumbag, bastard, and just the most evil man of all time. And Graham just has vitriol for Vince McMahon anyway. He's just looking for a reason. But I think Vicky and them can get it together. I don't think the door is closed on Vicky. I think she's hurt right now. Maybe someone will reach out. I know the McMahons and the Guerreros are cool. Look, her son-in-law still works for them, doesn't he? Mr. Drama King. Well, he's still with them, DT? Her son-in-law?
No, I don't believe so. But
he's what's his name? I'm sorry, guys. He was announcing for what do you call it for a while? The cruiserweight division. Oh my God, what's his name? The guy who was with Rusev, DT.
Wait,
what's his name?
Oh, you're talking about the guy, the singer, Rusev Day. Now you have me drawing a blank.
Oh my God, I can't. That's
Aiden English. Aiden English.
Aiden English still works for the company.
Yeah, no,
Vicky's
but
son-in-law.
Here's how I look at it. I don't think. Let me ask you this: Do you think? All right, AEW has their own podcast now. They have Aubrey Edwards and Tony Schiavone hosting it. Now, how do you think AEW would allow Moxley to go on a WWE podcast?
No.
Okay. Do you think AEW would allow Hangman Page, Young Bucks, Jericho to go on WWE podcast? Probably not.
No, nobody's a mainstay or under the
Yeah.
or is someone of
Right.
that.
So I can understand why WWE would not want their wrestler to appear on a podcast if they believe that Vicky Guerrero might have a job in AEW.
But does she, DT?
Well, that's my point. But
Okay.
as far as I know, she does not have a job in AEW, and she's free to do what she wants. Now, I will say this, though. She's remarried. She's got a new husband. So when people say, oh, look at, Eddie Guerrero and, look at this, she is no longer, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but she's no longer Vicky Guerrero.
No.
She is a character, Vicky Guerrero, but she is now married to someone else. She's not a Guerrero anymore. She'll always be a Guerrero to us, and she'll always be, Vicky, but she is now remarried. So she's got a new life. Now, for the last 2 years, when she got married and she was going to school and she was really really killing it. She was doing great. I don't recall her really talking about wanting to still be in the wrestling business. She came back with this podcast. She does a great job with it. She obviously still loves wrestling and still loves the business itself. But, I don't know if she wants to actually work for a company. When she says WWE didn't call her for 2 years, I know a lot of people out there were under this perception that Vicky wasn't looking to get back into wrestling. There is a big difference between doing a podcast and getting into wrestling. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
I just think that WWE, there might be some miscommunication here. They may think that she's landing a job with AEW or she might be working. I know she did the guest commentary, for AEW Dark, but that wasn't any, you know what I mean? So I think this might be more miscommunication than anything else, but she also needs to understand too that AEW and WWE, they don't hate each other, but it's business. And when you get caught up in that aspect of it, you can't take it personal. It's business. And just as AEW would not want their biggest stars that are pretty much committed just to AEW, you wouldn't want them to appear on a podcast hosted by a WWE star. Booker T may be the exception, but for the most part, you're not going to see that. The only difference is, like I said, Vicky, I don't believe, is an employee of AEW in any way, shape, or form. So I think this might be more miscommunication than anything else.
And by the way, DT, she's Vicky Benson now.
Yeah, and
Chris
if I
Benson,
was her, I probably would have reached out to WWE and say, look, I don't work for AEW. I made the appearance. Maybe she did do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, to just say that they banned her from interviewing any WWE stars, I don't know how much she reached out to. She says they didn't reach out. I don't know if she reached out.
Yeah.
And the way she described it sounded like she was blindsided as well. But hey,
yeah, I think she, again, sometimes you think you're on good footing with people and then something like this happens and you get your feelings hurt and stuff. But what do you think of Graham? Over the top?
Oh yeah, he's been over the top for a while now. He just, he takes everything personal, like things that have nothing to do. I mean, he has a hatred for WWE right now, and anything that could just look distasteful, he immediately just goes off on them. I don't know. Again, she's remarried, and I think people need to take a step back and think about that a little bit more. You remarry, you have a whole new life. You'll always be a wrestling character, but you're no longer a Guerrero by blood or by name, but I'm sure she's still close with the Guerrero family, but technically, she's not.
No,
So
she's not.
So look, she comes off as a really nice person.
Oh,
so
no, she does.
So you don't want to see somebody, get thrown in the mix to that. But
her son-in-law still works there, so
yeah, but again, it's again in-law, so he's really not, blood related to her either.
True.
He is the husband of, one of her relatives, Shaw Guerrero. Yeah. So, let me see. Before we go, WWE was celebrating that they're now 6 years with the WWE Network, and it's also the 10-year anniversary of NXT. I was thinking about it earlier today. I'm shocked that NXT is already around 10 years. I still remember the disaster with ECW and how NXT was going to replace ECW. Tell you, look back on NXT. I mean, it's funny when you hear Billy Corgan say a 20-year plan with NWA. Yeah. I first heard that, I'm like, that just sounds nuts that it would take you 20 years to get where you were. But when you think about NXT, and NXT in a lot of people's eyes is still the minor leagues of WWE, and I know that pisses off some NXT stars, but it's just the perception. That's the way it's always going to appear. But when you realize that where NXT is compared to Raw and SmackDown, and we're already 10 years in. So NXT, it may take 20 years for NXT to be considered an equal brand as Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember, what was it before? It was NXT Florida?
Well, they have Florida Championship Wrestling.
Florida Championship, yeah. FCW, yeah. I remember, I mean, it was more than 10 years ago, it was FCW. And Bray Wyatt and Sheamus were in FCW, so it shows you how long they've been around.
Yeah, if anybody goes back to my history show, I played some Bray Wyatt FCW stuff. And when he had the extreme Southern accent, and he's talking about the shrimp boat, and this, yeah. So that
was over 10 years ago.
Over 10 years ago.
Amazing.
But I tell you, I've been on the WWE Network since day one. And again, I love the old school sections more than anything else. I am going to start watching the Ruthless Aggression. I haven't started yet, but this weekend
I saw John Cena. I saw the John Cena part.
Yeah, I'm going to binge and watch everything and get up to date this weekend. But I tell you, compared to when it first launched, I know they have a lot of specials, a lot of shows and theme stuff. They tried to do the Jackass stuff or whatever. I tell you, I'm not satisfied. I've been there. I've been a subscriber now for 72 months. And it just feels that they have really abandoned a lot of areas on the channel, and it should have been much further. Because I remember early on, we have to add things gradually. We have to do this and that. That old school section, that's pathetic.
Yeah, they should have a lot more. But remember, DT, they did a few years ago that Legends House and they had Camp WWE, and so they just kind of abandoned it. Like, I don't know why they didn't do another Legends House.
Well, at the time it was cost cutting.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm just saying maybe just downgrade it up to a little bit. I mean, but just put something interesting on there. They have the ride along, which is okay, but it's a 30-minute show. Of course, there was, and I want to mention it, DT, because someone had asked me if I saw it, what I thought of it. Big Show interview with Stone Cold on Stone Cold's Sessions. Loved it. I thought Big Show's he's a guy I wouldn't mind sitting down and talking with. He's entertaining. He's funny. He's truth-telling. He talks about how he still has some shit against Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan from the NWO. He felt like he was used in that group, and he was talking about them going into the Hall of Fame. He said some interesting things. Talked about when he got demoted to Ohio Valley and stuff, and he just had a real candid, much better than the Goldberg interview. I thought Big Show, I'd put it number 2 behind Undertaker out of the 4 that Austin's done already. And I understand Bret Hart might be the next one, so that'll be very, very interesting. But Big Show was entertaining. I like Paul White as a person. I think I was very hard on Big Show. Like, please, I was one of the please retire chanting guys. But as a person and as a guy sitting down talking, he's very engaging. I like Paul White a lot. It was a good conversation with Austin.
Okay, I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it would be very interesting to see Bret Hart. It'd be interesting to see
yeah.
if Steve Austin asks the very pertinent questions that I know a lot of people want to confront Bret Hart.
Well, I know
with.
it's in the can. They recorded it already. I know that.
Okay.
So,
all right.
yeah, that should be the next one. So that should be very, very interesting.
Okay. I'm going to check it out. But with that, I think we're pretty much done. This Wednesday, we have AEW and NXT. Charlotte is going to be wrestling Bianca Belair. I know a lot of you out there want to see Bianca Belair put into the WrestleMania match with Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. We'll see if they go that route. If they go that route, just understand something. I don't think a lot of people believe that Charlotte will win the NXT title and then remain in NXT. If that happens, that's when NXT basically says to AEW, okay, your ratings wins are coming close to an end. I'm not saying it will, but it's almost like if they could put Charlotte in NXT for an extended period of time, they could put other people in there as well. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't believe Charlotte will win that NXT title, but my immediate thought is if Bianca Belair ends up in that match and it's a three-way at Mania, would not surprise me if Bianca Belair either wins the belt or she eats the pin. Bianca Belair may be put in there so Charlotte doesn't have to get pinned. I think that's unfair to Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair because they're both extremely talented. But if this turns into a three-way, that may be strictly so Charlotte doesn't get pinned. I mean, look, it'll make the match better, but in the end, it might be just so Charlotte doesn't get pinned.
True.
So, but that's it. We're out of here. We ended up doing about a little under 90 minutes, which is pretty much what we would have done in the first place, and we don't have to worry about doing this Tuesday. So, we got it done.
Thanks for sticking with us, everybody on YouTube and Discord. And for Patreons tomorrow night, it's KNT Chronicles with me and Trez at 10:15 on Discord chat.
Yeah, I'll send you the questions tomorrow. I'll put up the thread tomorrow morning as well for everybody. So, all right, I will talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, DT. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us and hanging in there. Good show, and I'll catch you later.
Sounds good. Later. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, for everybody who tuned in at 11:15, my sincere apologies. I just don't know what the hell happened earlier. And it pisses me off because I had all the equipment on for about an hour. I always do double and triple tests way before it goes live. And look, for the most part, again, I'm only on YouTube for 5 weeks. That's after 22 years of doing audio only. And there's going to be some growing pains, no doubt. But I usually double and triple check everything to make sure we don't run into problems. So, hey, shit happens once in a while, but we got the show done. And, thank you for the support as always. If you're on Patreon or if you decide you want to go on Patreon, you definitely want to check out this past week because we did an episode of Breakfast Soup, and it was just a hilarious episode. There you go. I am a supporter of Lars, and I will never, ever, criticize the guy for the video he did. Everybody, does things that they may be ashamed of earlier, but I had to do the Mitch pose for Mish. So, yeah, that's me with the A&W t-shirt with no shoes on. I was originally kneeling just like Mitch in that video, but unfortunately I was too tall. So I had to bend down and, we just had fun with it. But yesterday we did Breakfast Soup and we had a ball. It was fun. So if you go on Patreon, you could sign up for as little as $2. You get all the shows and you get at minimum 8 Patreon shows a month. Plus, you get ad-free episodes of everything else. You have the contest that we do. Plus, every other week, you got Breakfast Soup. Every other week, it's blah, 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 and everything else that we do. So, yeah, Mish looks clean-shaven. If you look closely, he does have a little bit of the goatee. But we had a ball yesterday. We went a little over 2 hours, and it was a fun show. So, definitely check it out. And keep spreading the word about my site. If you haven't known already, I set up Instagram 2 days ago. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's instagram.com/DonTonyDTD. D as in David, T as in Tom, D as in David. DTD as in Don Tony DeBly. So it's Instagram.com/Don Tony DTD. And keep telling everybody about the YouTube page. A lot of people still have no idea that I have moved on to video. And Tuesday afternoon, I have a pretty important meeting regarding the YouTube stuff I do. And, you know, I'll talk about it Wednesday, but I got a very cool email from someone who was very high up on the food chain for one of the promotions that I cover on Wednesday. And, you know, there's something that was offered that I am seriously going to consider. It won't be overnight, but you may see yours truly in a different environment later on this year. So, but anyway, I am out of here, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the night. Make sure you check out Wednesday Night Don-O-Mite, Wednesday after AEW and NXT. And once again, this Thursday, you have the Super Showdown. Now, it starts at 12. I don't know. I don't think the actual event starts at 12. It's probably like a 1-hour pre-show. So my thinking is the event starts at 1 and it ends at 4. So right now I have the tentative pay-per-view recap that I'm going to do on YouTube. I have the time right now scheduled for 4 o'clock. If the show ends later, then we'll start a little later. If it ends extremely early, then maybe we'll start the show a little early. So if you're around Thursday afternoon and you want to check it out, I will be on YouTube right after Super Showdown, and I'll give you my recap and my review. And then we'll play it by ear with Friday with the Don Tony Show. You know, if there's enough to cover, then yeah, you will definitely see yours truly on Friday night as well, right after Smackdown. So anyway, I am out of here, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the night and keep spreading the word. And I thank you as always for the support. Good night, everybody. Take care.
Don-O-Mite.
It was fun to channel surf. It was kind of hard to do a little pocket pool after you hitting the last channel button 50 times for 2 hours plus.
Don-O-Mite.
And his whole idea of overanalyzing, oh, he's an alcoholic and he misplaced the belt. And how could you have someone champion like that? The fuck out of here.
Wednesday night.
Don-O-Mite, you can have fun. You really are.